Mountains. Yep, there are a lot of them in Utah, but it's often the pronunciation of mountain that gets the attention in Utah. But to get to the bottom of the mountain pronunciation, we first need to look at the way certain things are generally pronounced in American English. So T's are often pronounced as glottal stops, a sound that we represent with a symbol that looks like a question mark minus a dot underneath. You can hear this sound in the casual pronunciation of T in Batman and foothold. It also appears in words like kitten, bitten, fountain, and Clayton, where in very formal American speech and in some British dialects, the glottal stop is not used, so we hear kitten, bitten, fountain, and Clayton instead. It's important to know that the T's are not deleted or dropped, just given a different pronunciation. No one says ken, ben, found, and clayin. In general American English, the glottal stop in words like kitten is followed directly by the nasal N sound. Kitten, bitten, fountain, Clayton. Now what is stigmatized in Utah and mistakenly called T-dropping is placing a vowel between the glottal stop and the nasal. This sounds like kitten, bitten, fountain, and Clayton. Little side note, this pronunciation isn't just found in Utah. It's been documented all over the country in places like New York, Vermont, and New Mexico, to name a few. But in Utah, this pronunciation is found only about 12 to 15% of the time in words like mountain. But it's more common among younger female Utahns. But wait, language is always changing and evolving, and the pronunciation of words like mountain in Utah doesn't escape change. But before I get into that, let me go on a brief tangent, then I'll come back to the main point. So, hypercorrection. Hypercorrection is correcting something that never needed correction in the first place. It's based on an awareness that a pronunciation is considered bad or less prestigious. For example, in American English, we often pronounce the T's as D's, or more precisely, as taps. And we use this funky bent nail symbol to represent taps. So in casual speech, city and atom have taps, and are only pronounced city and atom with a T sound in very careful speech. Since Americans are aware of how T's are pronounced in very careful and in normal speech, hypercorrection can happen. For example, spider is also pronounced with a tap, but someone who's being over-the-top careful may hypercorrect and say spiter, assuming that the formal pronunciation has a T when it really doesn't. Meanwhile, back in Utah, we know that people stigmatize the mountain pronunciation, meaning that they comment on it and give it a bad rep. This has made many Utahns self-conscious about it, so in order to avoid the stigmatized mountain pronunciation, many Utahns have consciously changed it. What is interesting is that, rather than adopting the more general U.S. pronunciation with the glottal stop followed immediately by a nasal, mountain, they hypercorrect it to a T sound rather than a glottal stop, mountain. Now there's nothing wrong with saying mountain with a T, it's just that it's way more formal and very British sounding compared to what's common in the U.S. But new research carried out by Dr. Joseph Stanley has found massive hypercorrection in Utah. So many Utahns are now prone to say kitten, bitten, fountain, and Clayton. In other words, what used to characterize a Utah accent, mountain, is declining and giving way to a new trait of Utah English, hypercorrect T in words like mountain.